the most bizarre laws in history, when ancient rulers went mad with power. The ancient world was a place of wonder, brutality, and at times, sheer absurdity. While modern legal systems strive for fairness and logic, many ancient rulers enforced laws so bizarre they seem ripped from the pages of a dark comedy. These weren't just quirks of governance, they were calculated displays of power, psychological control, and occasionally the result of a ruler's unchecked ego spiraling into madness. From kings who outlawed sadness to emperors who declared war on the ocean, here are the most insane laws in history and the twisted logic behind them. 1. No bad news. The Mesopotamian decree of King Shulgi, 2000 BCE. The law. In the Sumerian city of Ur, King Shulgi, a ruler who believed himself divine, passed a law that made it illegal to deliver bad news to the throne. The punishment? Death by liver extraction, a gruesome execution method where the offender's liver was removed while they were still alive. Why? Shulgi claimed that sadness disrupted his divine connection to the gods. Messengers were trained to rephrase disasters. Instead of saying, "The crops have failed," they would say, "The gods have given us an opportunity to fast." Archaeologists have found cuneiform tablets where scribes carefully edited reports to avoid triggering the king's wrath. The consequences. When Ur was invaded by the Elamites, no one dared warn the king until enemy soldiers were inside the palace. By then, it was too late. The city fell and Shulgi's reign ended in bloodshed. Book. Imagine living in a world where telling the truth could cost you your liver. Literally. 2. No frowning near the Pharaoh. Ancient Egypt's royal decree, 1400 BCE. The law. In the court of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, anyone caught frowning, sighing, or showing distress in the king's presence was publicly flogged with papyrus reeds. The logic. The pharaoh was considered a living god, and negative emotions were seen as impurities that could disrupt cosmic order. Courtiers rubbed onion juice under their eyes to induce fake tears of joy. Tomb paintings depict officials smiling while their homes burned down. They waited until they were dismissed before reacting. Modern parallel. Ever had to force a smile during a terrible meeting? You have the ancient Egyptians to thank for that tradition. Book. What if your boss could have you whipped for looking tired? 3. Punishing the ocean. King Xerxes' wrath, 480 BCE. The law. When a storm destroyed King Xerxes' bridge during his invasion of Greece, he ordered his soldiers to whip the sea 300 times with chains, brand the waves with hot irons, throw shackles into the water to imprison the rebellious tide. The aftermath. The sea, unsurprisingly, ignored him. Xerxes then executed the engineers who built the faulty bridge. Historians mark this moment as the beginning of Persia's decline. Book. What happens when a king's ego is bigger than an empire? 4. No purple for peasants. Rome's deadly fashion law, 215 BCE. The law. In ancient Rome, wearing Tyrian purple, a dye reserved for emperors, was punishable by being torn apart by wild dogs if you were a man, enslavement if you were a woman. Why so extreme? The dye came from 10,000 crushed sea snails per gram, making it worth more than gold. Senators paid a year's salary for a single purple stripe on their toga. When a merchant's daughter wore purple gloves, Emperor Nero had her hands cut off and displayed them in the Forum. Legacy. The phrase, "born to the purple," still signifies royalty today. Book. What if wearing the wrong color could get you fed to lions? 5. Mandatory drunkenness. The Aztec elder law, 1500 CE. The law. Every citizen over 70 was required to get publicly drunk once a month or face exile. The reasoning. The elderly were believed to be closer to the gods when intoxicated. Children mocked sober elders by blowing alcohol-scented smoke in their faces. Spanish conquistadors wrote about 90-year-olds chugging pulque, fermented cactus juice, like it was water. Book. What if your grandma had to party? Or else. 6. Cheese fraud, shock of death. Medieval England's food law, 1300 CE. The law. Selling spoiled cheese in London meant being locked in stocks with the rotten cheese, having it smeared in your eyes and mouth. If someone died from eating it, you were buried alive with the cheese. The cheese police, official cheese testers, carried silver spoons, which tarnished if the cheese was toxic. Court records show a man strangled with cheesecloth for selling moldy cheddar. Book. Forget prison. What if bad cheese got you buried alive? 7. No eye contact with the Shogun. Feudal Japan's brutal rule, 1600 CE. The law. Any commoner who made eye contact with the Shogun was beheaded on the spot. The workaround. Peasants trained themselves to stare at the Shogun's knees instead. A Dutch trader wrote about a man who gouged out his own eyes after accidentally looking up. The law lasted until 1868. Photography was later banned because cameras stole the Shogun's soul. Book. What if a single glance could cost you your head?